All right, so we're diving into a story that's got everybody talking, like even if you don't follow like hip-hop drama at all, the downfall of Diddy. We are talking about Sean Diddy Combs, rapper, producer, fashion icon, billionaire,
Yeah.
and now facing like some seriously dark legal trouble.
Yeah, this isn't just another celebrity scandal, you
Yeah.
know? Diddy's dominance in music, in fashion, in media, it spanned decades. He seemed untouchable,
Right.
which makes these allegations even more shocking when you think about it.
Okay, so for anyone who needs a little like backstory here, Diddy didn't start out, with a silver spoon or anything.
No, not at all. This is someone who went from basically like relative poverty to becoming a billionaire
Yeah.
several times over. This is founding Bad Boy Records, shaping hip hop culture.
Yeah.
This is someone driven to succeed,
Yeah.
and that ambition was clear from the get-go.
And he made sure everyone knew it too. It wasn't just about like making music, right? It was about building the Diddy brand.
Exactly. Yeah. A lavish lifestyle, constant self-promotion. I mean, even trying to get into royal circles. There's that story about Diddy being determined to get Princes William and Harry to one of his parties.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He aimed high in like every aspect of his life.
Wow. Well, speaking of those parties, can we talk about the legendary white parties? All white dress code, A-list guests, DiCaprio, the Kardashians. These weren't just parties. These were like cultural moments.
Oh, totally. Strategically brilliant, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah.
They cemented Diddy's position at the center of the entertainment world. Like, to even be invited to one of these, it meant you were in Diddy's inner circle.
Yeah.
You know,
And kind of like beneath this very glittering surface, there were always these like rumors, right, of these even more exclusive, secretive gatherings,
yeah.
the infamous freak-offs.
Yeah. Allegedly, these were multi-day events, much smaller, much more private, and the accusations surrounding them are, well, they're incredibly disturbing.
Like involving.
Drugs, coercion, and sexual assault.
Yeah. And for years, this was all just like whispers, rumors, what changed.
Well, Cassie Ventura's lawsuit in late 2023 seems to have been kind of a tipping point.
Okay.
Cassie, a singer who dated Diddy on and off for over a decade, filed a lawsuit alleging years of honestly horrifying abuse.
So this wasn't just like a messy breakup.
Oh no, this was serious.
Yeah.
She accused him of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, claiming he used his power to control her life, her career.
Wow.
She alleged being forced to take drugs, engage in sexual acts with other people, even carrying a gun against her will.
And what was Diddy's response to all of this? Didn't he try to pay her off?
He did. He offered her a $30 million settlement, which she initially accepted.
Wow.
But then the lawsuit was dropped. But the damage was done. Her story, it opened the floodgates, and other accusers started coming forward with their own stories.
And these weren't just vague rumors anymore, right? This was people naming names, giving like specific details.
Exactly. And the number of accusers is honestly staggering. We're talking over 50 people now, both men and women. And their stories were disturbingly similar. Coercion, manipulation, abuse, a real pattern started to emerge.
Okay.
And it wasn't just limited to those parties either.
Right. It felt like every week there was like a new accusation. There was Rodney Darkchild Jones, this like big-time producer who filed a $30 million lawsuit against Diddy for sexual abuse.
Yeah, and this wasn't just coming from alleged victims either. You had rapper Jaguar Wright, who claimed she witnessed Diddy engaging in, inappropriate behavior, specifically with young men.
Yeah.
It was
And this is where it gets even more unsettling, right? There were those old clips of Diddy with a young Justin Bieber that suddenly took on a whole new meaning.
Oh, totally. That video from 2009 where Diddy boasts about having Bieber under his wing, and then he makes these comments about how he can't disclose what they were really doing. I mean, it definitely raised eyebrows in light of everything else.
Yeah. For sure. And then there were whispers about Diddy's alleged history of intimidation and silencing his rivals, right? I mean, that incident with Kid Cudi's car being set on fire back in 2012, allegedly after he showed interest in Cassie Ventura.
Right. Yeah, it's important to note, no direct link was ever established between Diddy and that incident, but it definitely added to this, growing narrative of Diddy using threats and violence to kind of get his way.
Totally. And then things went from bad to worse, right?
Yeah.
March 2024, U.S. Homeland Security agents raided Diddy's mansions. And what they found was pretty shocking, even for Diddy.
Oh, yeah. Drugs, unregistered firearms, and over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a bizarre detail that kind of added fuel to the fire, so to speak.
Yeah. And then came that video, right? That security footage from 2016, released by CNN. that appears to show Diddy physically assaulting Cassie Ventura in a hotel hallway.
Yeah, that was, I think, a real turning point for a lot of people. Like, seeing is believing,
Right.
and that footage was incredibly damning.
Right.
It completely contradicted his, like, carefully crafted public image, you know what I mean? And people started to question everything.
Totally. Diddy did release that, like, tearful apology video on Instagram,
Yeah.
but, like, a lot of people found it really unconvincing.
It felt very much like damage control, more about protecting his brand than expressing genuine remorse.
Totally, totally. And it didn't stop the legal avalanche, right?
Sure.
I mean, September 2024, Diddy was arrested at the Park Hyatt Hotel in New York on charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and involvement in prostitution.
Yeah, that indictment was massive. Prosecutors accused Diddy of basically running a criminal enterprise, using his companies, like Bad Boy Records, as a front for extortion, forced labor, drug trafficking. I mean, the list goes on.
So, like, from those legendary white parties to a jail cell in Brooklyn, how did it come to this?
Well, it's important to remember that Diddy maintains his innocence, right?
Right.
But the prosecution is building a case, and they're focusing on those freak-off parties as, like, key events where these alleged crimes took place.
Right. And, I mean, the judge isn't taking any chances either, right? Diddy's request for $50 million bail was denied because he's considered a flight risk.
Yeah. It's a long way from his usual lifestyle, that's for sure. And as these, legal proceedings kind of play out, people are digging even deeper into his past, looking for clues, connections. Like there's that Eminem lyric from his song Fuel that was released in July 2024 that a lot of people think is about Diddy.
The one where he says, I'm Araper, but the way it's spelled, it's missing a P.
Exactly, yeah. People interpreted that as like a direct reference to Diddy,
Yeah.
using that like shortened version of rapper to imply the word rape. It's wordplay, for sure, but in this context, it was explosive.
Totally. And like the next line even mentions Biggie and Tupac, which is a whole other layer of this story.
Right, right. There's that long-standing conspiracy theory that Diddy was somehow involved in their deaths. Though it's important to say, there's no like concrete evidence to support that. But those rumors, they persist, and they add another layer of like intrigue to the whole thing.
Yeah. And then there's, Kim Porter,
Mhm.
Diddy's longtime partner who died in 2018.
Right.
Her death was incredibly sad and very sudden.
It was. And recently, a diary surfaced, allegedly written by Kim Porter, called Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side.
Like a tell-all diary. What's in it? What does it say?
Well, the authenticity is still being debated, but if true, it's like incredibly damaging to Diddy.
Like how so?
Well, it alleges that he was living this like double life, abusive, manipulative, and like involved in some pretty dark stuff.
Or like what kind of dark stuff?
For example, the diary claims that Diddy was heavily involved in like voodoo rituals.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that he would use these rituals to like curse his enemies, even claiming that he cursed Tupac and Biggie before their deaths.
Wow, that's a pretty serious accusation. Is there anything to like corroborate that?
It's important to note that these are just like claims made in a diary whose authenticity is, uncertain. There's no direct evidence to support them.
Right, but it's still a like chilling detail.
Absolutely. And the diary goes on to claim that Diddy had this like dark side he hid from the public, exploiting young men, using drugs to control others, and engaging in like violent outbursts.
So we have these like alleged confessions, we have this diary, whispers about Diddy's potential involvement in violence, and now like this mountain of evidence from the prosecution. It's a lot to unpack.
It is. And it really, this story really makes you question the power of fame and wealth.
Yeah. And what happens to like Diddy's empire now? I mean, his businesses, his endorsements, his legacy, is it all like crumbling down around him?
It's hard to say at this point. Hulu already canceled that reality show about his life.
Right.
And his vodka brand, Ciroc, is facing boycotts.
Yeah, his image has definitely like taken a hit.
Absolutely. But legally, it's still, early days. He's innocent until proven guilty. And his legal team is fighting hard.
Right. It's a story with so many layers, so many twists and turns.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about all of this?
Honestly, what really stands out is like how long this allegedly went on. I mean, if these accusations are true, it makes you wonder, what about the systems around him that allowed this to continue for so long?
Yeah. Like, what about all the people around him? His employees, friends, even other celebrities? Did they know? And if they did, why didn't anyone say anything?
Well, I think it really speaks to the like power dynamics at play. Diddy was and still is incredibly powerful, wealthy, influential. Speaking out against someone like that can be terrifying,
Oh, totally.
especially in an industry as, like, cut through as the music business.
For sure. It's that classic, like, emperor's new clothes situation, right?
Right.
Like, everyone can see what's happening, but they're too afraid to be the first one to say something.
Yeah, and on top of that, you have to think about the potential consequences. Loss of your career, damage to your reputation, maybe even threats to your safety. It's just, like, a lot easier to stay silent,
So
even if it feels wrong.
it's a tough situation all around. But this case, and others like it, hopefully, they've shown that even the most powerful people are not above the law.
Right, that's the goal, isn't it? To try and create a culture where people feel safe speaking out, that they'll be heard and that there will be consequences for those who abuse their power.
Accountability, that's
Yeah.
like the big word here.
Exactly, yeah. And this case, I mean, it's far from over. We don't know what the outcome will be, but it's already, like, sparked all these really important conversations about power, about privilege, about the responsibility we all have to speak out against injustice.
100%. It's a story that has captivated, like, the entire world.
Hmm.
And it's one that will continue to unfold in the months and years to come. So for our listeners out there, what are your thoughts on this? Have you been following the story? What are you left wondering about? Let us know.
Yeah, it's a lot to process for sure. I think we're just beginning to understand, like, the full scope of this story and all its implications. One thing's for sure, the music industry and the world are watching.
Absolutely. And we'll continue to follow the story closely and keep you updated as it develops. Until then, thanks for diving deep with us.